What if everything you see, touch, and believe only exists because you're watching? And what if someone figured out how to hack that power to control what you observe, and therefore, what becomes real for you? In 1927, scientists stumbled upon something that shouldn't exist. An experiment so disturbing, so fundamentally wrong, that it shattered every assumption we had about reality. They called it the observer effect. And for nearly a century, this discovery has been buried under academic jargon and mathematical equations. But here's what they don't tell you. The observer effect isn't just physics, it's a weapon, and it's being used on you right now. Picture this: a dark room, a barrier with two slits, and a beam of light. Simple, right? Scientists in the early 1900s thought so too. They fired particles of light through those slits, expecting to see two straight lines on the detector screen behind them. Basic physics. But that's not what happened. Instead, they saw an interference pattern. Waves. Multiple bands of light and dark, exactly like ripples in water colliding with each other. But here's the problem. Light was traveling as individual particles. Particles can't interfere with themselves. They can't be in two places at once. Unless they are. The particles were somehow going through both slits simultaneously, existing in multiple states, behaving like waves spread across space. But the moment scientists tried to observe which slit the particle actually went through, everything changed. The wave pattern collapsed. The particle chose a side. It became solid, definite, real. The act of observation forced reality to make a choice. Scientists were terrified. They repeated the experiment with electrons. Same result. Then atoms, then molecules. Every single time the pattern held. When observed, particles behaved like particles. When not observed, they existed as waves of probability, everywhere and nowhere at once. Werner Heisenberg, one of the founders of quantum mechanics, said it plainly. The atoms or elementary particles themselves are not real. They form a world of potentialities or possibilities rather than one of things or facts. Nothing is real until you look at it. Niels Bohr went further. Everything we call real is made of things that cannot be regarded as real. Think about that. The entire universe, every solid object you've ever touched, every person you've ever seen, exists in a state of quantum uncertainty until the moment of observation collapses it into something definite. Erwin Schrödinger hated this so much he created a thought experiment to mock it. You've probably heard of it. Schrödinger's cat. A cat in a box with poison that may or may not have been released. According to quantum mechanics, until you open the box and observe, the cat is both alive and dead simultaneously. Schrödinger meant it as satire, as a way to show how absurd this interpretation was. But the math didn't care. The experiments didn't lie. Reality, at its most fundamental level, is observer-dependent. And that's when things got dangerous. Because here's what happened next. Someone realized they could sell this. By the 1970s and 80s, the observer effect had escaped the lab. It was repackaged, stripped of nuance, and transformed into something far more profitable. Quantum mysticism. The idea that your thoughts literally create your reality. That consciousness is the ultimate power. That if you just observe the right things, believe the right way, manifest the right intentions, you can bend the universe to your will. Sound familiar? The Secret, Law of Attraction, Manifestation Culture, a multi-billion-dollar industry built on a twisted interpretation of quantum physics. And it spread like wildfire. Rhonda Byrne's The Secret sold over 30 million copies, claiming that your thoughts emit frequencies that attract corresponding experiences. You are a human transmission tower, the book declares. Oprah promoted it. Celebrities swore by it. Millions of people were told that poverty, illness, and suffering were simply the result of bad observation. Wrong thinking, negative energy. If your life is terrible, it's because you're observing it wrong. Do you see the trap? This isn't empowerment. It's gaslighting at a cosmic level. It takes a legitimate scientific phenomenon and weaponizes it to blame victims for their circumstances. Can't pay rent? You're not manifesting abundance. Sick? You're attracting disease. Depressed? You're vibrating at a low frequency. But the manipulation goes deeper. Cults figured this out fast. NXIVM, the sex trafficking cult disguised as a self-improvement program, used observer effect language extensively. Keith Raniere taught followers that they were creating their reality through observation and intention, that their suffering was self-inflicted, that submitting to him was simply choosing to observe a better reality. Landmark Forum, EST, and dozens of other large group awareness training programs use the same framework. They break you down, convince you that your perception creates your prison, then rebuild you according to their structure. You're not joining a cult. You're just choosing to observe a more empowered reality. And it works, because there's a kernel of truth in it. Your perception does shape your experience. Your focus does determine what you notice. The observer effect is real. But when that truth is twisted, when it's weaponized by people who understand psychological manipulation, it becomes one of the most effective control mechanisms ever devised. Because once you believe you're creating everything through observation, you can be convinced that your abuse is self-created, that your exploitation is chosen, that your cage is self-constructed. And this is just the beginning. If you're starting to see the pattern, if you're realizing how deep this manipulation goes, subscribe now, because we're about to show you how this isn't just about cults and self-help scams. This goes all the way to the top, to how entire societies are controlled through manufactured observation. Hit that subscribe button, because what comes next will change how you see everything. Now let's scale this up. If individual observation shapes individual reality, what happens when you control what millions of people observe simultaneously? You manufacture consensus reality. This is where the observer effect becomes a tool of mass control. Because here's the dark truth. Whoever controls what you observe controls what becomes real for you. Think about how media works. Not what they tell you, what they show you, what they make you focus on, what they repeat until it becomes the only thing you can observe. In 2003, the Bush administration wanted to invade Iraq. They needed Americans to observe a reality where Iraq was an immediate threat. So they didn't just lie once, they orchestrated a systematic campaign of observation control. Repeated claims about weapons of mass destruction. Endless footage of Saddam Hussein. Strategic leaks to journalists who reported them as independent confirmation. Colin Powell at the UN with his vial of white powder. Americans weren't just told Iraq was dangerous. They were made to observe it as dangerous, repeatedly, from multiple sources, until that observation collapsed into accepted reality. The weapons never existed, but the war was real. This is the Overton window in action. The range of ideas and observations deemed acceptable in public discourse, and it's carefully manipulated. You don't change reality by force. You change it by controlling what people observe, what they focus on, what becomes thinkable. And social media has perfected this. Every algorithm is an observation control mechanism. Facebook doesn't show you reality. It shows you a carefully curated set of observations designed to keep you engaged, outraged, clicking. The algorithm learns what you observe, then feeds you more of it, creating a reinforcing loop where your observation shapes your feed, and your feed shapes your observation. You think you're freely browsing. You're being observed into a manufactured reality tunnel. Twitter, now X, does the same thing. TikTok has mastered it. The For You page doesn't show you what's real. It shows you what the algorithm has determined you should observe based on what keeps you watching. And here's the truly disturbing part. This creates divergent realities. Two people living in the same country, same city, same building, can be observing completely different worlds because their algorithmic feeds are different. One person observes a reality where the world is ending. Another observes a reality where everything is fine. Both feel like they're seeing the truth, because in a sense they are. Their observation is creating their experiential reality. This is how polarization works at a fundamental level. This is how you can have two groups of people looking at the same event and seeing completely different things. They're not stupid, they're not crazy. They're literally observing different selected realities, and those observations are collapsing into incompatible worldviews. The observer effect, scaled to billions of people, mediated by algorithms designed to maximize engagement, has fractured consensus reality itself. And the people who control those algorithms, they control what becomes real. Edward Bernays, the father of modern propaganda, understood this a century ago. He wrote, "The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power." He wasn't talking about lying. He was talking about controlling observation, about shaping what people see, what they focus on, what becomes real through repeated exposure. Your attention is being farmed, your observation is being directed, and through that direction, your reality is being manufactured. But here's the question nobody wants to ask. What does the actual science say about all this? Let's strip away the mysticism and get brutally honest about what the observer effect actually means, because physicists hate what's been done to their discovery. When quantum mechanics talks about observation, it doesn't mean consciousness. It doesn't mean intention. It doesn't mean your thoughts are magic. It means interaction. In quantum physics, you cannot observe something without interacting with it. To see an electron, you have to bounce a photon off it. That photon impacts the electron, changes its state, collapses the wave function. The observer isn't your mind. It's the measuring device, the photon, the interaction itself. This is why physicists get furious when people claim quantum mechanics proves consciousness creates reality. It doesn't. It proves that measurement requires interaction, and interaction affects the system being measured. But here's where it gets genuinely strange. The math of quantum mechanics doesn't actually explain why measurement collapses the wave function. It just describes that it does. We have the equations, we can predict the outcomes, but we don't know the mechanism. This is called the measurement problem, and it's been unsolved for almost a century. Some physicists think consciousness might play a role. Most think it's just physical interaction. Others believe in the many worlds interpretation, where every quantum event creates branching universes and nothing ever actually collapses. We just find ourselves in one branch observing one outcome. The honest answer? We don't know, but one physicist took the observer effect seriously in a non-mystical way. John Wheeler. He proposed the participatory universe, the idea that observers and the universe co-create each other, that information and observation are fundamental to reality's structure. Wheeler didn't mean you can manifest a Mercedes by thinking about it. He meant something far stranger, that the universe might be self-observing, that consciousness might be how the universe knows itself, that the distinction between observer and observed might be an illusion. He once said, "We are participators in bringing into being not only the near and here but the far away and long ago." This is profound without being magical. It suggests that observation isn't about control. It's about participation. You're not creating reality through wishful thinking. You're part of a vast interconnected process of reality becoming aware of itself. And that brings us to the most disturbing question of all. If observation shapes experienced reality, and your observation is being controlled, are you living in a prison made of manufactured perception? Think about your daily life. How much of what you observe is chosen by you, and how much is fed to you? You wake up, check your phone. The algorithm decides what you see first. Outrage, inspiration, fear. The first observations of your day are curated by artificial intelligence designed to maximize engagement, not truth. You scroll through news, but you're not seeing the news. You're seeing what editorial decisions, algorithmic amplification, and attention economics have determined you should observe. You go to work. Your perception of your own value is shaped by performance metrics, comparative observation of colleagues, systems designed to make you observe yourself as a productive unit rather than a human being. You come home. Entertainment platforms use your observation history to suggest what you should observe next. The feedback loop tightens. Your entire experiential reality is constructed from a narrow bandwidth of controlled observations. And here's the trap within the trap. Once you realize this, once you see the manipulation, you face a choice. You can become paranoid, trusting nothing, observing everything as potential deception. That's its own prison. Or you can become conscious of the process, aware that while you cannot control reality, you can choose what you pay attention to. You can select your observations deliberately rather than having them selected for you. This is the real power of the observer effect when properly understood. Not manifestation, not reality creation, but awareness that your attention is the most valuable resource you possess, and whoever captures it shapes your experienced reality. The attention economy isn't just about advertising revenue, it's about reality control. Every notification is a bid for your observation. Every autoplay video is an attempt to direct your awareness. Every trending topic is manufactured consensus trying to determine what you observe as important. Breaking free doesn't mean escaping observation. You can't. You're a physical being in a quantum universe where observation and reality are entangled. But you can become aware of the manipulation. You can choose your observations more carefully. You can recognize when you're being farmed for attention. You can ask, who benefits from me observing this? What am I not observing while my attention is directed here? The ancient Buddhists understood this without quantum mechanics. They taught that suffering comes from attachment to perception, that liberation comes from observing the observer, from becoming aware of awareness itself. Modern physics stumbled into the same territory from a completely different direction. Your consciousness is participating in reality. The question is, are you participating freely, or are you being observed into submission? Are you choosing what to notice, or is what you notice being chosen for you? The perception loop isn't just the name of this channel, it's the trap you're living in, and the only way out is awareness. If this video changed how you see reality, how you understand manipulation, how you think about your own attention, then you need to subscribe, because we're just getting started. Every video on this channel is designed to break one more layer of the illusion, to reveal one more mechanism of control. Drop a comment right now and tell me, what do you think you're observing that's actually been manufactured for you? What part of your reality do you suspect isn't as real as it seems? Let's talk about it, because the observer effect is real. The manipulation is real, and your awareness is the only weapon you have. Welcome to the perception loop.